31st Sunday in Ordinary Time, Cycle B. The community's action in solidarity and Association Jesus Solidarity are inviting you to listen to the Living Gospel for November 3. Let us then meditate on the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 12, verses 28 to 34, with commentary from Father PatxiLoidi in the voice of Chi Liquicia. Proclamation of the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark. One of the scribes came to Jesus and asked him, "Which is the first of all the commandments?" Jesus replied, "The first is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than this." The scribe said to him, "Well said, teacher. You are right in saying he is one and there is no other than he. And to love him with all your heart, with all your understanding, with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is worth more than all burnt offerings and sacrifices." And when Jesus saw that he answered with understanding, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." And no one dared to ask him any more questions. The Word of the Lord. Father Patxi's commentary. Dear friends, Jesus has arrived in Jerusalem with his disciples. As soon as he arrived, he made the prophetic act of expelling the vendors and questioning the temple and its cult. In this way, he openly confronted the Jewish authorities. From there, Mark concentrates on two chapters, 11 and 12, the tense and conflicting performance of Jesus in the Holy City, particularly controversies involving the Jewish leaders, which contain great teachings. Today's passage is within those controversies, but it is not a confrontation because of the positive and respectful attitude of the teacher of the law. To put in context the question of the scribe, we must bear in mind that according to the tradition of the synagogues, the law comprised 613 commandments, 365 prohibitions, and 248 mandates. Jesus combines all the precepts in two commandments, using quotations from the Old Testament. Apparently, there is nothing new in his response, but it's a great novelty for simplification and for uniting texts from different books. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verses 4 to 5 in verse 29 and Leviticus chapter 19 verse 18 in verse 31. The formula that goes before the first commandment is well known and is called Shema. It is a solemn affirmation of monotheism. It is said that pious Jews recite it daily. Our love for God must come from our whole person, as indicated by the four references that bind us strongly to Him, with the whole heart, the whole soul, the whole mind, all the forces. The third was added by the evangelist. The second commandment is very demanding because it is not easy to love your neighbor as yourself. At the same time, it includes self-love and invites us to have high self-esteem. What happens when a person has low self-esteem? It is the case of women, educated mainly for subordination and servitude. This commandment invites us to combat this harsh reality. And we must read it like this: love your neighbor as we should love ourselves. At the same time, this commandment affirms the absolute value of the human person, which is the criterion for all our actions, personal, social, and political. Absolute value, which must be inculcated in both men and women, with a sense of total equality with men, without submission and dependence. Thus, we also reinforce the last sentence of the teacher of the law, who without denying the cult puts love to the neighbor above it. You are not far from the kingdom of God. This final response is very stimulating. Hopefully, Jesus will tell it to us today, and we will meditate on it a lot. With it, He is teaching us to recognize good wherever it is without distinguishing people. Three-time prayer. Liberation. Listen, Israel. The Lord our God is the only God. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4, Mark 12, verse 29. Free me, Lord, from all gods, from all adorations, from all attachments, from all ties, because only God is God. Free yourself, my soul, of the great and of all the great ones. Tread the hill, go up the mountain, crush the tallest peak with your feet, and jump into the void without protection, because only God is God. Free me from all idols, Lord, and from my ego, which seems invincible. Set me free, because only God is God. Adoration. Worship the Lord your God and serve Him only. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 13, Matthew 4, verse 10. Do not worship anyone but Him. You will not adore Him. Family, prestige. You will not worship the Pope, the Bishop, the Pastor, the Founder. Do not adore the homeland, the party, the union, the leader. Do not kneel before anything or anyone. Worship God. Put your hands together. Tilt your head and adore Him, slowly with reverence, every day. Recognition. Love your neighbor as yourself. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 8, Mark chapter 12, verse 31. The neighbor is my next one, male and female. They are part of myself, because I am not alone. Although I do not know them, I recognize them. I recognize their dignity. I recognize their absolute value. They are never a means, they are always the end. I will treat them as God, without ever adoring them. I will take people seriously, every one of them. I will not take them as a joke. They are the living images of the infinite God. We take care of lifeless images. Do we care for the living ones? I will raise my self-esteem to love everyone as myself, with high self-esteem, because they are flesh of my flesh and blood of my blood, and their self-esteem will increase. I will fight for their rights, especially of the poor, for they are like the flesh and blood of Christ, who identifies Himself with each of them.